have exactly 7 o'clock, so let's go ahead and call this meeting to order of Town of Sheffield Select Board. First of all, since we're doing a virtual meeting, I want to introduce the Select Board as well as our administrative team. We have Renee Wood, we have Martin Mitzoff, and we have disguised as the iPad, Bob Kilmer. We also have our town administrator, Rhonda Lombard, and also her assistant, Jill Hughes. All votes tonight will be taken by roll call. And I don't know whether this is being filmed by CTSB or not. Yes. It is. Thank you very much. Okay, so this will be on CTSB. If anyone else wants to film this Zoom meeting, just please let the chair know and permission will be granted. All right, so our first of all, I want to wish everybody a happy new year, and we'll see how this one goes. Our first item agenda is approval of meeting minutes, and we're going to pass over that. So we'll go to our second agenda item, which is discussion and possible action regarding senior center emergency procedures. Rhonda, do you want to give a little bit of background on this, or Kathy?
Sure, I'll start and then I'll turn it over to Kathy.
Okay.
So we needed to have some type of emergency procedure. Unfortunately, this is a reactive. We had an issue at the center, and so we wanted to make sure that we had something that people could follow in the case of an accident or someone being hurt or someone not feeling well and happening at the senior center. So Kathy worked on the emergency medical procedure. She sent it over to me. I made a couple changes. The COA took a look at it at one of their meetings and they have approved it. And now it's before the Board of Selectmen for final approval.
All right, thank you, Kathy. Would you like to add anything?
No, I think Rhonda summed it up. We just wanted to have something in place so it was a little clearer for individuals if anything occurred, especially if it was a class or a program that was being run by someone other than staff members. So people just have an idea of what to do in that case.
Okay, thank you. Martin or Bob, do you have any comments?
No.
This is Martin. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Martin.
Yeah, this is Martin. I think it's a great summary, a very useful summary of the medical procedures that need to be enacted when you've got a case there. So thank you very much for working on this. I would make a motion to approve the Sheffield Senior Center Medical Emergency Procedure document.
Second.
Okay, the only comment I had was that I had two comments. One, it seemed like the document, which I think also should be posted in other town buildings. I think we don't have medical procedures, I don't think, emergency procedures in other town buildings. So I think this could be used as a template. I thought they basically said the same thing twice. One was for if it was a patron, and the other one was for if it was staff. And I think it's the same thing. So I think I'm wondering if it could be potentially shortened if it combined just everybody. And the other thing was, these are medical emergencies, and I think you just don't put any doubt in it. You just call 911. Those are my only two comments. And I don't know if the board or Kathy or Rhonda want to comment on that, because we do have a motion and a second. So Rhonda or Kathy or board members, any comments on that?
I don't have any concerns with combining it, so it states for either a patron or a staff member if everyone else is okay with that.
I think that's great. I'll either amend my motion or withdraw it until it's been finalized.
Okay, let's just Rhonda, how about you?
I agree that I can work with Kathy and get those changes made if you want it to come back before you. I'm not so sure about when you were taking out, if there's any doubt, always call 911. We want to make sure that it is a true emergency before we,
Right.
we don't want to waste 911's time either. And I think that the people at the senior center are a pretty good judge of that. Even if someone is saying, no, I'm fine, and they've hit their head, I believe that Kathy would call 911 anyway. Am I correct, Kathy?
Okay.
Yeah.
Nadine, chair of the COA. Nadine, would you care to weigh in?
The COA approved the policy as written. We did make a few minor changes. I don't have a problem with combining the patrons or staff. I just think that the policy was written because we're dealing with an older population who sometimes are stubborn and not wanting to deal with a medical issue. They really don't want the ambulance called, but we felt we needed something in place to protect everybody in the event that something happened.
Again, my compliments to the COA, and I think it's just not older people who are reluctant to go through the potential embarrassment of having an ambulance up and being carted off. I think anyone doesn't want to go through that. So, Martin, with that discussion, do you feel you have adequate room to amend your motion?
Yes, I do. So I will amend my motion. I'll withdraw it or amend it.
Why don't you just amend it?
Okay. So my amended motion is to approve for the select board to approve the Sheffield Senior Center medical emergency procedure to be condensed to include policies for medical emergencies of patrons and staff.
I'll second.
Okay, and it doesn't need to come back before this board, does it, members?
No.
No. Okay, great. So we have a motion and a second on that amended motion. So let's have a roll call vote. Martin?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Renee? Aye. Okay, great. Thank you again. And Rhonda, I'm going to ask you to just consider as appropriate sharing these appropriately written procedures with the rest of the department heads, because I'm not sure that we have anything like this in town hall or the transfer station, etc. I don't know about the library. The library may want to take a look at this and consider it also. All right. Next item is discussion possible action regarding closing town buildings. People may have noticed that town hall was closed today. We had some COVID issues, so we just closed town hall, both for the protection of our staff as well as our town residents. A lot of stuff going on with this new variant. I think Kathy has worked with Rhonda as well as with me, and she has new procedures regarding mask wearing that are going to be put in place at the senior center. The libraries will do what it wishes because the trustees are under control. And a lot of time was spent on this whole COVID issue, the new variant, getting tests, etc. Today by Pat, Martin, Rhonda, Kathy, myself, and Jill. So I want to thank everyone for that. So, Rhonda, do you want to go over this, or shall I just continue? What would you like to do?
Whatever you want, Renee. I can go over. You did say that we closed town hall today. That's going to be closed until further notice. We'll see how things go. The police department, you can only get into the lobby anyway. The senior center is going to wear masks when in the building, except for the exercise. That seems to be a little hard for people to exercise with a mask on. And some of the instructors, I believe, also do not want to do the classes unless there's a mask. I've talked with the highway department. They're all going to wear masks when inside the garage. So I think we're pretty much covered, and we'll kind of just have to watch the senior center and how things go there.
And we're going to be having, Rhonda, correct me if I'm wrong, the same procedures that we had basically last year through July when town hall was finally opened. There's the mailbox to the right where any checks or such can be dropped, as well as any correspondence. You can call town hall. The number is right there on the notice that it's closed, and you can listen to the extension and reach the department you wish. They're still making appointments as needed. Is that correct, Rhonda?
Yes, it is. Absolutely. Mhm.
And I'm just hoping that everyone will start wearing a mask when they're around or in buildings, because we've got to get this under control. And it's coming out, cloth masks are really not what should be worn going to either the surgical or the N95. Martin, do you have anything to add to this? And then I'll ask Bob.
No, I'm all set. Thank you, Renee.
Bob?
Other than I think we're getting a little ahead of ourselves with this variant. Yes, it is more infectious, but all signs point to not as severe or as serious as Delta or any of the other ones. So I think we're getting a little ahead of ourselves on this.
I think you're outnumbered on this one, Bob. We
I
have,
know
we have
I'm
a couple
just
of town
making it clear
employees
that
that are out, and we really don't have staff to lose anymore, plus the public. And I'd really like to segue at this moment. We do have with us the chair of the Board of Health, Pat Levine. And Pat, since we have 3 items, I think, on the agenda tonight that are kind of COVID related, could you take a moment and give us kind of a quick update on what you're seeing and what your sources are giving you on the new variant?
Well, the biggest information, biggest news is the fact that in early December, the week of 5 to 11, we had only 10 cases, 6 of which were of unvaccinated individuals. But the week before Christmas, we had 40 cases in Sheffield, not South County, Sheffield. So it is really invading, so to speak. And the concern, while I share with Bob that we're getting a little tired of some of this, what's happening is that those who are unprotected have to be, unfortunately, protected. Those who are not wanting to get vaccinated, we need to be cognizant of the fact that it does spread very easily, even if you're relatively asymptomatic or think you've just got a cold. So there's a lot of it out there. I think it's going to get much worse in the next couple of weeks. Predictions are that it's going to peak in the next 2 or 3 weeks. That's been the pattern in other countries and other areas of the country. So we can look forward to that happening. But in the meantime, vaccinations, boosters, mask wearing all the time that you're indoors, unless you're in a private room, and social distancing are the way to combat this thing and try and beat it back.
Okay, thank you, Pat. Do you want to say anything about? I guess what we should talk about right now is we did do the email blast, but many people found out that there's a pop-up testing clinic. So
Yeah.
you want to talk about that for a moment?
Yeah, sorry, I can move on to that. The last pop-up test we did just before Christmas was extremely successful. It was sold out, so to speak, and we kept adding slots to it. This time we're doing it a little bit different. We're going to have registration. If you want to absolutely be assured of a slot, please register for this Thursday at from 8. The session will be from 8 to 10. But from 8 to 9:30 will be assured slots through registration. From 9:30 to 10 will be, quote, walk-in, but in fact it's drive-in. And there you're somewhat at risk as to whether or not we're going to have enough supplies. The state has been sending these a little bit erratically. We cannot quite get the supply we'd like to have as a backup amount. So we will have what we think is reasonable and as much as we can have it. But if you want to be assured of a place, please register for that. We're going to also consider doing one the following Thursday and the Thursday after that. Just because of the height of infection, the need to know if you're going to be associating with other people, particularly those whose COVID protocols you're not so confident of, or if you're associating with people who are vulnerable, elderly, other qualifications of that sort. Get tested, find out if you're safe to engage in those activities, whatever they may be.
So Pat, where do people find this link?
You can find it on the library's website. If you scroll down the website, you'll come to a little, not so little, you'll come to a blurb about the vaccination, about the pop-up testing, and there's a link there.
Okay. Would you consider putting this under news?
It is there. I'm sorry, Jill did put that up today. I'm quite sure that that was included in what I'd sent her. If not, we'll correct that.
Okay. And then, Pat, if for any reason the link changes over the next couple of weeks, if you could just work with the town administrator's office to make sure that we have an adequate link. Okay.
Right.
Great. Great. All right. Rhonda, did you want to add anything?
No, I think everything was covered. Thanks.
Okay.
Rhonda.
Let's go on to our next topic is discussion possible action regarding meetings in January. And I think this kind of follows from what our previous meeting was. We've always had either in person or Zoom. This is the first meeting of the year, so we can kind of make sure everybody's aware of that. No hybrid meetings. I think it's going to be Zoom for a while, just to be safe. But Martin, Bob, Rhonda, any comments on that? Okay.
Renee, this is Martin. I'm good with for the time being. We can reevaluate this in a couple of weeks and see where the numbers are going and what the impact is to our town employees as well as our residents.
Yeah, I mean, we're hoping this is going to be short. I personally don't think, given what Pat said and what I've been reading, this is going to be another July 1st. But I think we just have to take precautions at this moment. So we'll go from there. Rhonda, anything?
No, I'm fine, Renee, with, we'll give an update at the next meeting in January. We'll keep this on our agenda as a topic for discussion until we're back to open as normal or go back to in-person meetings.
I don't want to ignore Bob.
For the sake of being the outlier here, I will just keep my mouth shut.
All right, thank you, Bob. Let's move forward. Our next item is an update on special town meeting date, which I think just got kind of thrown for another loop. But Rhonda, you want to give us an update on this?
So originally the board had chosen a date of, I believe it was the 18th of January. They've since rescinded that, and we were going to take a look at possibly doing that in February, but I think that's going to be up for further discussion too at this point. The planning board is also working on a couple things. We want to make sure that they're able to finish their work before we schedule the special town meeting. So there'll be more updates on that at the next meeting.
But I think it's safe to say we're in February.
Oh, definitely February. Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right. And it may be a moving target, but we're anxious to get this done when we can.
Can I just say something, Renee?
Sure.
I didn't mean definitely held in February. I mean definitely put off until February, but we'll still discuss that date as time goes on.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, absolutely. All right. Next item is a discussion possible action on the letter that we received from Julie Hannum at Old Parish Church regarding a number of issues regarding the Mumbet statue. I know in our packets, I drafted a letter based on some of the information that Martin had sent along with my own thoughts. I don't know if the board has had a chance to read that, but basically Julie was asking questions regarding, I think everybody knows, let me step back. I think everybody knows that there's exciting plans to put a beautiful bronze statue for which money is now being raised, spearheaded by our representative, Smitty Pignatelli, to go where the holiday tree now is, right in front of kind of the Stone Store and Old Parish Church. Her letter, which as moderator she sent on behalf of Old Parish Church, really deals with issues of easement, insurance, who's responsible for what. And the letter that I drafted basically kind of goes back to the original discussion that was had with Smitty and Julie and Paul O'Brien, where the town was told that it would have no responsibilities and would not have to pay for anything. So our letter is kind of, whatever it turns out to be, is kind of in reaction to that. So let's kind of open this up to Rhonda, Martin, and Bob for comments on the letter. It's just a draft. It was really just to try and get the discussion going.
I'll defer to Bob and Martin to go first there.
Bob, do you want to go or do you want?
It doesn't matter, Martin, either way.
Go ahead, Martin.
Okay, so thank you very much for drafting this, Renee. I have had a chance to review it, and I'm generally in 100% agreement with it. But I just wanted to draw our attention to Julie's, the Old Parish Church letter from December 13th on page 2, under the second bold bullet of maintenance of access to the monument. And in particular, the very last phrase of the second sub-bullet point, where I know Julie and Paul and some others had raised with us in probably our very first meeting on this subject, that there were some concerns at the church with regard to the town's maintenance of the existing sidewalk that runs between the Stone Store and the Bartholomew building. And I think that was separate and apart from any discussion about a new easement or a modification of an easement with regard to the statue. But it was a question that the church members had raised, wherein we, the town, have that easement of an wanted to make sure that that would be some way of addressing that would be included in our letter back to the church or back to Julie.
Okay, so this was basically the issue of the maintenance as in snow plowing?
Exactly. And again, for the existing sidewalk, not for anything new, but for the sidewalk that's already there.
Okay, all right. Any other comments, Martin?
No, thank you.
Bob, how about you?
I'm pretty much fine with it. There's the last sentence, second paragraph. I'm not sure if that needs to be in there or how it actually fits. Other than that, I'm fine with it.
Okay, so the last sentence in the second paragraph, the strip of land owned by the town of Sheffield?
Yeah, that's the next to the last sentence, the final sentence.
Oh, we are not sure how the deed. Oh, okay. All right. All right. So let's look at potentially taking that out. Okay. Rhonda? Oh, anything else, Bob?
No, that's it.
Okay. Rhonda?
I think the letter is fine too, Renee. I agree with Bob. That sentence should be removed.
Okay. This basically deals with a photo that was sent to us that showed Jim Kelly standing in a position that would show that the easement on that part of this area where the statue would go might be town property. But if I looked at all the documents right, but the map of the parcels that was sent with that email shows that the town's parcel is outside of that area. And so I'm not sure how the photo all fits in. Rhonda, do you have any comments on Martin's comment of maintenance or snow plowing?
I believe that we should take that up separately from the Munbat statue and really discuss that with the church and get a final determination because it's always in question. So
Okay, Martin, are you good with that?
I'm good with that. Do we want to at least add a sentence at the end of this draft letter that says, we will get back to you as it relates to the maintenance of the existing sidewalk?
yes,
So I don't want them to be surprised when they see this as if we had ignored it.
Okay, all right. I think we're going to have to potentially consult with our council, because when I read that easement, I didn't see anything that related to the town property, that the town owns the sidewalks. So that's, when you look at the plots that the parcels that were, the map was sent over, the Stone Store owns their property, the church owns its property, people on down the line. We were just given easements so that we could use the town grant, apparently, or we would have never gotten the grant without that easement. So should we just look at one, taking out the sentence that Bob recommends, the last sentence in paragraph 2, adding a sentence that Rhonda can do for us at the end to say that we will address the request for clarification on maintenance
That's
in a
perfect.
separate letter? Would that
Yep.
sound good?
Yep.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we approve the letter then as drafted and amended.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? Okay, this requires a roll call vote, and Martin Mitzoff,
Aye.
Renee Wood, I'm sorry, Bob Kilmer.
Aye.
Okay, so we'll get that done, and Julie, this should be to you in the next day or so. And if you wish, we have, if you want, we can just email this over to the office, the email that's given there. Office at First UCC.
That would be fine. If you could also email it to my email address, my Gmail address, I would appreciate it.
Okay.
Yeah.
We don't have someone in the office all the time. It
Okay,
can go to
we'll do
both.
that. Okay, all right, great, thank you. All right, next issue is a really lovely one, photos for our annual town report.
so
Rhonda?
it's that time of year again. We're putting the town report together and we're seeking photos from residents of pictures in Sheffield that they'd like to submit for consideration for the cover. So anyone who has a picture they'd like to submit, they could send it to my email or go on the website and find my email and send it that way. And this board will take a look and decide which picture they like.
And people can talk to their friends. I think last year's entrance, it came in as a result of somebody talking to a friend, and the photos were just as beautiful as every other year. So, and you can submit multiple photos, and you don't have to wait a certain number of years. If your photo was chosen to resubmit, you can submit again. And I know that we have at least one person on this call who has had her photo chosen. So it's always wonderful to see the photos come in. And Rhonda, do you have a deadline for that? If you said it, I missed it. I'm sorry.
I didn't say it, Renee. So we're probably looking by like mid-February. I'd say February 15th.
Okay, great. Wonderful. Wonderful. All right. Next item is discussion and possible action regarding Board of Health permitting software agreement. Rhonda, could you walk us through this, where we are at this at the present time?
Sure. So at an earlier meeting, I think you have the minutes in your packet. The board agreed to, I'm just looking at it right here. The board agreed to proceed with the memorandum of agreement with Berkshire Regional Planning for the Board of Health software. So also in front of you, what you have is the actual agreement with Full Circle Technology that needs to be signed as well. I think if you have any questions, we should ask Pat to talk about that a little bit on why we're signing, especially the first year when there's no charge to the town. It's going to be covered by the grant. Pat, do you want to elaborate on that at all?
But it would be my understanding that in order for the company to work with us and work under our auspices with our data, that they would need some recognition that we have indeed agreed to this and have signed that agreement. As you know, it doesn't commit us to any funding for it, but I think it does commit us to the collaboration that would be required for us to get up and running on the software.
Martin or Bob?
I'm good with it.
I'm good with it as well, Martin.
So maybe because what is signed does have numbers and it says for Sheffield. I'm wondering, Pat, if we could put a disclaimer, sign it, the board will consider making a motion to sign it, but we could put a disclaimer that BRPC is responsible for the first year charges.
I'm sure that's fine. They should know that, and it wouldn't nullify their ability to work with us.
How does that sound for a solution?
Excellent.
Okay, could we have a motion, please?
I will make a motion that we approve the Full Circle Technologies module for supporting the Sheffield Board of Health, with a note on that agreement to be executed by either the chair or Rhonda as town administrator. The note to include that the first year's fees are to be paid by our agreement with the Berkshire Regional Planning Commission or the Berkshire Public Health Alliance.
Second.
Okay, is there any further discussion? Let's have a roll call vote. Martin Mitzoff.
Aye.
Oh, I'm sorry. Martin Mitzoff.
Aye.
Bob Kilmer.
Aye.
Renee Wood. Aye. All right. We'll get this taken care of in the first part of the week, Pat. Okay, one of us will be in tomorrow to sign it. Okay. Jill, do you think that can be ready for us tomorrow?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right. Next item is action regarding resignation. Rhonda, would you walk us through this, please?
Sure. So we've received a resignation from Elaine Ireland, who was the assistant to the director at the senior center. She's submitting her resignation effective January 14th. Her time here was rewarding, and she's thanking us for the opportunity that we provided. She's also offered that when she's going away, so when she's back, roughly mid-March, if there's any need for part-time, she would be more than happy to fill in, resume her classes that she teaches, driving the van, or just covering if there's coverage needed. So I think we should tell her thank you for that, and that we'll see where we stand when she returns mid-March.
I'll make a motion to accept the letter of resignation from Elaine Ireland and to provide a note of thanks from the select board.
Second.
Martin, does your letter of thanks include the comments that Rhonda just made?
No, I don't think they need to. We can always evaluate that when she returns.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Roll call vote. Martin Mitzoff.
Aye.
Bob Kilmer.
Aye.
Renee Wood. Aye. Last item before we get to board member items is the whole issue of the potential discussion and possible action regarding the purchase of COVID test kits. And Rhonda, do you want to take the first crack at this, walk us through this, and then we'll have board members add as needed?
Sure, that's fine. So Renee's been in contact with BRPC, who is trying to get the purchase of COVID tests in with the group purchasing program so that we can do a purchase of a large volume. So what we need from the board is permission to join that and a discussion regarding how many we think we can get. Renee, I don't know if they've given you a limit or an idea of how many will be available to everyone?
No, one of their staff members is currently evaluating the information that we got from the state as to this is a public health person, the effectiveness, the cost, and the usability on those three criteria. They're kind of also working to see what the availability is. And Rhonda, are we already part of this group purchase?
We are.
Yeah, I thought we were. Okay, get our oil from them and part of that group. Okay. So the other thing is this is a pretty fast moving target. There's going to be a webinar on Thursday that I believe Pat has signed up for, as well as myself, because we can purchase these straight through the vendor, and we're going to try and figure out how we could do that. So any action that the board takes tonight, I would like to have be subject either to a group purchase or the town's individual purchase with a vendor or vendors, so that we can kind of have some flexibility. Rhonda, the money for this is going to come out of?
I was just going to say that we plan to use some of our ARPA funding to purchase the test with the board's vote to do so.
This is Martin, do we have any approximation, again, of roughly the numbers of tests and the potential cost range for that number of tests to be able to make a motion that ties us into some finite dollar amount?
The cost of the tests now, and some of them are not even costed at this point by the vendors. Right. But right now, I think I saw that they ran from something like $5.95 a test to $23 or $24 for 2 tests. And I don't know. I just don't have any information in terms of what would be a reasonable number yet. I have heard Rhonda and I were speaking of 1,000, but I've heard that those areas that got the tests for free, like Pittsfield, from the governor's office, are going through them extremely quickly and are looking to order more. I think what we're also going to hear back from BRPC is, I think we'll have this information in another couple of days, and definitely when we have this webinar on Thursday. They may be looking at more than one order, but Martin, this is moving so fast. I don't know.
I know.
Yeah.
I mean, are we looking then for a motion in which we could say a cap of $25,000 of ARPA funds for now?
Yes.
I think that's sufficient. My concern is that we're not meeting again as a full board, in one of our regular sessions to the 18th. We may have a working meeting, but I'd like to have Rhonda have some authorization on this.
Well, do we all believe that $25,000 is enough, or do we want to leave it open-ended? I guess that's the heart of my.
I think $25,000 for the next 2 weeks would be very good. We'll have a much better hand on this. If we don't spend it, we don't spend it. If we need to consider more, we'll bring it back. I think Pat has her hand up. If we could, Pat.
Thank you, Renee. If you use that number 25 and use the high number on the cost, that would give us 1,000 tests, which isn't bad. I'm hoping eventually we would have several thousand tests, frankly. I think this is a critical element in trying to get us through this crisis, and it's going to remain important to people throughout the next several months. So I don't think 1,000 is very many, but it certainly is a good start.
These are also home tests. So this is potentially in conjunction with what the public health services are doing in terms of these pop-up tests, like is scheduled, I think, for this Thursday and potentially next Thursday. I think somewhere along the line, we're also going to be, at least I would like to see some protocols on these, which is really just a fancy word saying who gets it when, because I think at this moment, most people would take a free home test if they could get their hands on it. You can't get them in the drugstores. So I think we do need to have some sense of how this plays out. I also, being very optimistic, but also very cautious. Just a detail, I'd like to see a sticker on these that this is provided by the town of Sheffield and not for resale, because these are hot items right now, or at least they may be when we get our hands on them. So I think your idea, Martin, of the upper limit of 25,000, no more than that at the moment. As we get more information, Rhonda can kind of send it around to the board, and then she can be the hub of getting any comments beyond this initial authorization as we get information on tests and usability, etc.
Okay.
Any other questions from the board or from comments or Rhonda?
What is the availability? Is this a test we will be able to get in a week, 2 weeks?
Can't answer that right now.
Because
I hope by Thursday we'll have some answers, but this came out after hours on Friday, before the weekend, and we've been scrambling today. Everybody's scrambling.
I realize that. The problem is, if this variant turns out to be the wimp that it seems to be, we probably won't need the tests.
As long as we have unvaccinated people in the area, we do. It's deadly for them.
They have the option to get a shot at any point time frame. I don't feel it's our right or our purpose to try to inflict a shot on people that don't want it. If they don't want the shot, it's their right, their choice. They're the only ones in harm's way right now. I'm vaccinated.
Unfortunately, Bob, that's not true. People who have been boosted are getting sick. Fortunately, for the most part, from what I've read, it has been mild, but they're still getting sick. Again, I think, if you want to lower that amount, but I just don't think we can stand by. I mean, we have employees who need to get tested. They're not able to do their job. They don't know whether they can be with the rest of their families. We have residents who are queuing to try to get tested. So I agree with some of what you say. I'm not going to convince anybody to get a test. I'm not going to waste my time, and they're not going to do it if they haven't done it by now. And if they do, I applaud them. But we need to protect our staff and our residents to some reasonable level, because things are going to just come to a stop again.
That's a matter of opinion, and
yeah, that's my opinion. I'll be very clear on that. That is my opinion.
Leave it at that. The 25 is fine. I am fine with it.
Okay, so unless there's some other comments from the board or Rhonda, could I get a motion on this?
Yes, this is Martin. I'll make a motion that we authorize Renee Wood and or Rhonda LaBombard to undertake the group purchase with BRPC or via purchase by a vendor or vendors of COVID-19 in-home testing kits with ARPA funds not to exceed $25,000 for the time being, and that we work up a brief summary to be able to allocate these test kits that would include information that they are not for resale, etc.
Martin, if I could ask you to amend that. Rhonda's our chief procurement officer. I shouldn't have authorization to buy. I'm not a procurement person.
That's fine.
So,
I
could you just take me out of it? I'll work with Rhonda.
So
okay.
amended. So amended.
Bob, would you like me to second that?
If you'd like, go ahead.
Okay, I will second that. Is there any further discussion? And I know that the board and Rhonda will not be spending this money in any foolish manner. We always try to get real good value for what we spend. So any more discussion amongst those members? All right, let's do a roll call vote. Martin Mitzoff.
Aye.
Bob Kilmer.
Aye.
Renee Wood, aye. Thank you all. So Rhonda, do we have anything else that's come up since we posted this agenda?
No.
Okay, good. Let's go to board member items. Martin Mitzoff first.
I have nothing tonight. Thank you, Renee.
Bob Kilmer.
Just to wish everybody a happy new year.
I just have one comment. I want to congratulate the Housing Production Plan Committee on starting this week. And I know that one of the things that we'll be looking forward to hearing on this board is a realistic calendar, because I know when we set the February date, that was almost a month ago. So we're really looking forward to the work of this committee. Town administrator items,
I don't have anything, Renee. Thank you.
public comments, if you would. Just kind of, do we have a raised hand? Yes, if you could just raise your hand so that we don't have people kind of competing with each other, or just leave a little chat, put a notice in the chat that you would like to speak. I'll call on you in that order. I see Pat's got her hand up, so let me ask Pat, just for the record, just please state your name, where you live, and then you've got 3 minutes.
Thank you. Pat Levine, 261 East Main Street. I just wanted to ask that as you look at the regulation, shall we say, for how these test kits will be distributed, that you engage with the Board of Health. I would like that group to make the advice, certainly for the review of the select board, but I think it is
Absolutely
a reasonable task.
Absolutely, and I'm sorry I didn't state that. Is there anyone else who's on video who wants to raise? It looks like Todd McKenzie. Go ahead,
Sure,
please.
it's Todd McKenzie, 514 Ranapo Road. Happy New Year to everybody. And a quick question, Renee, on the Mum Bet statue, and I apologize if I should know this. Is there any sort of a gap to funding for this that would prevent it from going forward, or is it all based on a grant? And part one, and then part two, is there a timeline in terms of completion, installation?
I'm going to turn that over to Julie. This is not a town statue. The town is, the Board of Selectmen is supporting it, but we're not involved in its acquisition. So Julie, could you answer those questions?
Sure, I would happy to do that, Todd. Actually, this is a project that was initiated by State Representative Smitty Pignatelli, and he and Paul O'Brien and I have been working with Berkshire Taconic Community Foundation. So there are huge community funding processes. There's not, well, I shouldn't say there's not a grant. There may be grants. I'm not even as totally up to date on the funding levels, but I know with Smitty's contacts and outreach, he's found many major gifts to come forward in multiple thousands of dollars, and eventually it'll be a community funded statue. And you know, the ownership will go forward. However, it is a very aggressive timeline. I'm pretty sure at this point, Paul O'Brien's not here, but if he hasn't already, he has already or will be shortly making a $50,000 commitment to the sculpture to begin work on this. And I know that it's planned to be unveiled. It's August 20th or 21st, that weekend on a Sunday. I forget whether it's 20th or 21st, but you know, it is in a very short timeline in terms of when it will all be
transpiring. I think Smitty
transpiring.
was trying to raise over 400,000. I know the state kicked in 75,000, but I just sent a note to Smitty at his office asking him if you can still make a donation, because they are also looking for an endowment fund where they could care for the statue going forward.
Yes, the fund the agency fund will sit with Berkshire Taconic, I believe, and I don't think it was 400,000. I thought he was looking to raise 200,000, but he could have upped the amount. I'm not sure. 400 would be better in terms of perpetuity. The last number I heard was about 200, but like I said, I'm not as closely involved in that. I'm more involved in the location, the easement, how that works with the easement that the church has and all of that. If Paul were here, he'd probably have the more cutting edge information on the actual funding piece.
Okay, so Todd, maybe just call Paul O'Brien at the Historical Society. Thank you
Great.
for that question.
Thank
Does
you.
anybody else have their hand up, or I don't see anything in the chat? Sari, I can't see if you've got your hand up.
Oh, no, I don't.
No,
Thank you.
okay, all right. You usually have something to say. I just couldn't see
Oh,
if
I do,
you
but
were
I'm-
out of the camera range.
No,
Okay, well,
Thank
with that, then I think I'm just not seeing anything else. I think we need to have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have to do a roll call vote on this, and thank you all for joining us this evening. Martin Mitzoff,
Aye.
Bob Kilmer,
Aye.
Renee Wood, aye. Thank you all. Have a pleasant evening.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.